tror jeg. We are the Arcturian Council. Hello and namaste.
Namaste.
You have our unconditional love, and we thank you for being willing to share this time with us. How may we be of service to you?
Nice to have you here again.
Nice to meet with you as well.
Thank you, thank you. I covered kind of some of the questions that I wrote since last time.
Yes.
And I got the answer that I was looking for.
Good.
I don't come with a specific question now, a general question. If you have a general question that pops into your mind.
How I can follow my highest calling. What am I here to do right now?
To have fun, to play. We feel that you are doing a great job at it. Generally we say whatever you're curious about in the moment, whatever you're interested in, whatever evokes a feeling of bliss or excitement. See if you can tune into that, take action on it, integrate it. And that is basically the journey everybody here has. That's a general answer. I don't know if you have a specific, if you wonder about specific things.
I feel like I'm blocking myself from creating.
What do you feel like creating?
A healing practice.
Okay, yes. Are there concrete steps you feel that are available to you in the here and now? Can you connect to people that also want to do that? Or can you take small steps to give this more physicality in a sense, to ground this?
Yes, like creating a Facebook page, I'm working on that.
Yes.
Also, I've been writing a lot all the time. I tune into these things, but I don't see why I can't have such a hard time allowing myself to express it, to like value myself in a way that I can live through this, like value myself in a monetary way, for example.
Yes. If we read your energy, we feel in a sense that really there's nothing blocking you that much. We do feel that maybe you're a bit critical on yourself, or that you maybe hold on to certain expectations, like it should look like this or it should look like that. And then if you put an expectation out there, and when you take the first step, you say, oh, I'm here, I'm not there yet. What's going on? And that is a bit the danger of expectation, because in that sense, by doing that, you actually kind of break all the time, because you judge yourself where you are in the now. You kind of judge that in a negative sense, that you are not already here. I don't know if that feels correct to you, but we would almost say, if it's an option, try to be more playful about it. Be kind to yourself. In a sense, maybe celebrate each step. Also, what can sometimes work is to simply have a bit of a structure laid out. Excitement can be very good, but sometimes having a structure to guide that excitement can provide, in a sense, it's almost like a river. if you have an inflow, and we feel you are in a sense very connected, so there's lots of inflow coming, but sometimes it can be good to structure a bit in the outside world, because if you compare it to water, if the water is coming down, it just flows everywhere. But if you can build, in a sense, like a small canal, you can actually guide that inflow in a certain direction, and then you could build up some speed, and you might be able to pull what you want into physicality sooner. A structure might be like putting an hour aside each day where you say, okay, I'm just going to focus on this subject. I want to create my healing practice, and I'm going to spend 1 hour on taking action on different steps that can further that goal or more. We don't know if that sounds exciting to you or what your reflections on that are.
That does sound like what I've been hearing from myself.
Yes.
Like that I need some structure, that my life has been very scattered and chaotic, like coming more and more back to a balance between, well, what I see as the masculine and feminine elements.
Yes.
Like there's chaos and there's structure, and now I've been chaotic and I've been very constricted now, finding that balance. And yes.
In that sense,
Structure.
we would almost, so you are, and this is not a negative at all, because you both need the feminine, what we prefer to say, the kind of the inflow. How connected are you to your surroundings? How connected are you to let inspiration go through your body? And then the masculine, we prefer in a sense a bit more outflow. That is more like, how can you use that energy and in a sense crystallize it here in the physical? And that can be a bit more pushing and pulling, building, maybe tearing down a couple of walls before that can be here. And in that sense, what we feel is that you're very good at the inflow, but maybe you could kind of work a bit on the outflow. We don't know, do you feel like you have tools to learn that a bit? Or how you can structure yourself more? Or
what tools do you mean?
Well, for example, do you feel you have those abilities? Because, for example, there are, if you look online, for example, there are, in a sense, quite a bit of resources available to kind of teach yourself how can I, in a sense, structure my life a bit more, how can I provide this structure so I can let this inflow structure a bit more, so it becomes more guided, so it becomes more focused, and then it can be easier to create through that outflow, because you can actually build up a bit of pressure behind it. Because if you don't pour it into a structure, it just flows everywhere, which is not bad in itself. But if you do want to get somewhere, it can be good to provide some structure. To give an example, a lot of the Buddhist monks, for example, they wake up at 4 o'clock, then they go meditate with everybody, and all these are structures. In a sense, this structure doesn't need to be there, but what they do is they say, okay, I wake up at 4 o'clock, from 4 to 5 I go meditate, then I take a small break, then we do this, then we clean up our rooms. And that is an example of how you can actually structure your own life in a way that is beneficial. Of course, these are structures that should serve you. Be flexible about it, you can always change them around, but it could be interesting, we feel, for you to experiment a bit with this. There's like simple tools like goal setting. What do I want to reach? Put that on paper, and then take each of these things and in detail write down for yourself, when am I going to do this? What day? Which area? What time period? So you clear, in a sense, you micromanage all these different steps, and then it's some people find it a lot easier than to let it flow into physical reality.
Yeah, I totally feel you. I have these tools.
Yes.
And I've recognized already, although I've pushed it away, that I have these tools, but yet I'm looking for more tools. Like, oh no, this tool isn't perfect enough. Like,
yes.
I'm just.
There's the expectation again,
yeah.
in a sense, maybe. Yes.
Yeah.
Do you think you could play a bit with simply, okay, I'll do it and I'll just see what happens. I'll build a structure for myself and try not to judge yourself. Try not to compare yourself with a perfect situation. But you just say, I'm going to build a structure. I think these are the steps that I need to do. And then right now I'm going to spend an hour on any action that comes up and see what I can cross off. And then after an hour, say, okay, how was it? What did go well? What didn't go well? If it didn't go well, don't punish yourself. And in a sense, what can really help is to simply build up a kind of... once you do this a couple of times, it can really work. You get more entrained. If you feel it's very hard to do it alone, you could even try to reach out to some other people. And you say, would you like to meet with me at a certain place? And then, in a sense, you kind of use them to provide a bit of structure as well. Maybe that person wants to write a book or work on something they have, but you both go to the library and you sit down and you create that block, that space in time, actively with somebody else where you know, okay, I'm going to spend an hour taking these actions now.
Yes. All very good.
Do you feel you can play with that in a sense, or would you like to know more?
For sure. I see the tools that I have, and I see that what you're saying is what I've been trying to tell myself, but then criticizing myself for not doing, and then creating an even bigger block or
yes.
bigger issue around it, and then just now writing it down, doing it, just going to bed,
and
waking up, and yeah.
And be kind to yourself as well, because the moment you start to judge yourself and say, oh, I shouldn't have done this, and you start whipping yourself, then it's not a lot of fun. And then in a sense you create this blockage, because there is the judgment and you don't like the judgment, but to prevent the judgment you basically don't take action to begin with.
Yep.
And if you don't take action to begin with, the judgment becomes stronger and you have even less incentive to take action. So you're in a sense pushing against yourself, but we say this is in a sense because you focus too much on an outcome. In a sense, be very playful with this, because we do feel there is an option for this if you want to create this. So that is, yes, how we read it at this moment.
Yeah. I get that. Is a really nice bit more input, like a second opinion.
Yes.
Just, yeah, I know it. Come on, just play with it. I can do it.
We can. The channel has been watching quite a bit of YouTubes and books. If you want to, he can maybe show you a bit of that afterwards, because this is something he himself also is a bit of a theme for him. Like, he has really connected lately to this inflow, but now how do you get this inflow and how do you ground these energies? How do you get it in physical reality? This is a challenge for everybody. Yes, if you would like to exchange, then maybe you can exchange some videos, YouTubes, book tips on this afterwards.
Then, as an example, like the Ikaya meditation that I'm doing, do you feel that is of the highest good for me?
Does it make you feel good? Do you feel it makes you alive?
It does.
Then it's good. In that sense, just trust your own heart in these things. There is not a best thing, we would say. We would only make the difference if I do it. Do I feel better? Only if it's a small thing, good, then it's helping. If you feel, do I do something and it causes somehow stress or limitation or this feeling, then leave it for what it is and see if you can find a thing that can be here. It's a bit as the Bashar says as well. Any permission slip that you somehow feels good in your system, use it. Don't, in that sense, there's no need to second guess yourself. Simply focus, ask your heart, does it make you feel good? Okay, great. And use it.
Yeah.
And in a sense, the more you use it, you integrate it, and then after a while it can be that suddenly it's not exciting anymore, because you have used it to its maximum. It had served its purpose, you have integrated what you could integrate through this permission slip, and then don't be afraid to throw it out. Don't feel that you have a loyalty to it, that you need to be loyal to it, and because of that you need to hang on to it. Simply accept it. It's a tool, it's useful for me now. Oh, this is done, I still have this practice here that now feels very good to me, and start doing that. It's not a clear line, it's much more like a dance. I'm going here, okay, this is great, but now I really feel I want to go this way. Okay, this is great, and now I really feel I want to go that way. And maybe a bit back, and maybe a bit here. And this is a bit difficult, but this is in a sense the step from third to fourth density. Instead of your linear thinking and with expectations and what do other people think, simply go inward, start trusting your heart, and try to see if you can kind of dance with the energies and the information that is available to you in the now.
I can continue with one question, is it okay?
Yes.
Speaking of structure, let's come to my structure.
Yes.
You already know about Ramtha and the discipline that I take every day, the meditation that I do, and I follow these disciplines, and I find them absolutely amazing. These are my main path, and I have huge results.
Yes.
And I'm into practical things. But at the same time, being here with the guys I've been for a long time now, and it's very inspiring to follow other ideas, star seeds. It's very interesting, it's very exciting to learn new things. Even though I feel that they're like limited, just following your highest excitement for me, it is very limited compared to what I get from Ramtha. But still,
isn't it your excitement to follow him?
Absolutely, I totally love him.
So
he's the only one
that's
that told that.
there.
So yeah, okay, that's a contradiction. Okay.
No, there is no contradiction.
There is no contradiction.
You are following your excitement by following
Absolutely.
Ramtha.
So it can feel at times, I'm not struggling, it's not a problem, but at times it can feel like unstructured, because my path, it's very practical. Following the disciplines are absolutely amazing with Ramtha, but still there are these things aside with Bashar and other entities, the Pleiadians, Sirius, you name it, many of them.
Yes.
And sometimes it can feel a little bit like in different directions, even though I follow the disciplines with Ram every day. But there are these things like, shall I try the crystal, shall I do that as well? It sounds exciting, but then it takes time from other disciplines that are, being in my practice for some time. So what about this feeling of unstructured sometimes? Sometimes it can feel a bit confusing.
Well, it sounds in a sense you have a bit of a luxury problem. There's
very luxury. Too much to choose from.
There's 20 shiny objects in front of you. Which one should I take?
That's true.
But do think about this. You are an infinite being, in a sense. So there is time for everything. You have time to explore anything that you feel excited about.
But I'm very impatient, like the whole humanity.
That's okay. That's a lesson as well.
I want everything here and now. I already told Dawe and the other one, the Björnan, I already want to become enlightened. Now
but you already are, in a sense. There is a part of you that is already enlightened. And by believing that you should get there, and that you should get there fast, in a sense, that is putting a frame around it that isn't to your own greatest service. But we do understand your frustration. This is a period the channel had as well. Like, we have a time frame, people. Get to work. But from our perspective, that isn't really there. But the only thing to shift that perspective is to kind of experience this for yourself. And in a sense, what you can do, if you enjoy something, just bathe in it and see how that feels. If you're doing a practice and you enjoy it, just enjoy that moment in itself. Because the moment you enjoy that moment in itself and are grateful for you being able to do that in this moment, what happens is, the moment you bathe in it, you lock in that frequency very strongly, and by doing that you actually raise your frequency even more. If you compare this to doing a practice and thinking, yes, this is good, but when will I be enlightened?
Yes!
Then you actually lower your frequency a bit.
Yeah, I
And
know.
then, in a sense, you make your own path longer. But this is really something we feel everybody goes through in this transition, and you just need to experience this and trust your own experience with it. After a couple of times of bathing in this relaxation and thinking, wow, isn't this great? Like, enjoy the view of it, smell the flower, isn't it wonderful? You don't need to do this for somebody else. This is, in a sense, a gift you give yourself. And enjoy it. Be lavish about it. Bathe in it. Be grateful for it. And the more you experience that, the more you kind of lock into this in a sense non-linear mind, and then it will be easier and easier. And in that sense, this is really something you kind of need to figure out for yourself. As long as something feels good, see, that's a luxury problem, and be grateful for that. Wow, isn't this awesome? I have all these great practices for Ramtha, and then I can do crystals, and I can do this. What a luxury. And just simply listen to that. And then what you could do sometimes is maybe put half an hour in your current practices, or maybe expand it with half an hour if that is something you can do, and just tell to yourself at the beginning of each half hour, ask your heart, what would I like to do this half hour? And just make it totally free. And if it is singing in the shower, go do that. If it is meditating, go do that. If it is dancing, do that. So that you kind of allow yourself this small free playtime where you can choose whatever you like. And then if you like that, you can grow that time.
So basically it's like allowing yourself, just being yourself and just follow your heart and whatever feels right here and now.
Absolutely.
Probably I did that because lately, at least a couple of days, I feel like flying every day. No reason at all, just being, existing. It's more than enough. And the only explanation in my logical mind, my 3D dimension, with this body on this planet, it must be the result of the disciplines that I have been working with.
Yes.
There is no other explanation for me why I'm feeling out of the blue, just being here, and not like taking some sort of a drug, whatever. It can be translated as a drug, a discipline, or a meditation if you want. But I felt really like that, like walking, going to work and just being there 100%. Like saying hello to a tree, this beautiful tree that actually comes from this planet, from this earth, that I am a part of it, and the water that I love so much is also part of the same system. And it's like absolutely amazing. Again, walking, just a simple walk to work. So it must be the only explanation.
We feel that you're getting it more and more, and then you start doing it more and more.
Absolutely, only because of the daily disciplines. Absolutely. Sometimes with the disciplines it can be difficult in the sense that it's not like 100%. I want to do the neighborhood walk and just to focus and then to open up my pineal and to activate the gamma part of my brain behind. Why it can be struggling sometimes, even though I know that if I do an amount of days, or if I continue to do that, every time I feel like it's burning here around my forehead.
Yes.
Why is it struggling sometimes? I feel so human when I'm like, I know it's a good result doing it.
In a sense, we feel you still have some blockages, and in that sense, at this moment, we would say keep actually going with your structure, because the advantage of this structure is if you simply do it every day and you learn to do it every day, then you kind of provide the, how do you say it? You provide the momentum to break through these blockages. And then if you do that in a focused way, it really helps, because if you don't have this structure, it can become easy to, oh, there's a block here, let's go somewhere else. But in a sense, raising your frequency, part of it is following your excitement, but what happens is that all the things that you need to integrate that are somehow lessons still to be learned, and maybe these are from a very young age, but you kind of need to really learn that lesson before you can raise your frequency even further. So these things might come on your path, and then it is very good to have a certain structure. So we feel for you in your time now, definitely, if the structure feels good to it, really respect that, because we feel it really helps you to build the momentum you need in this moment.
Is it true? I hope it's okay. I have 2 questions all of a sudden. Is it true that I've heard a couple of information on YouTube, on internet, saying the same thing, that the energy during these 3 months, the last 3 months of this year, it's much, much stronger, and a lot of energy and things, fluidity happening around. And
reinforcements have arrived.
Because it feels that I have a lot of different, beautiful, if I can call it positive, with Ram it's like positive, negative, beautiful, ugly men, women, this duality, but I feel it's an amazing energy in my state of being, and I've noticed around as well. Can you confirm that?
No, the whole collective is shifting.
Okay, beautiful.
And because more and more people in the collective have shifted, your whole background frequency has become much lighter. And in that sense, it becomes easier. It's easier to connect with people that are on the same thing. It's easier to... Maybe you just don't care anymore. Like, where maybe a year ago you were like, ooh, what would that person think? What would that person think? Because you could feel this collective, maybe in a sense, it's not really a judgment, but it's more like this collective not understanding things. But if you're familiar with the 100th monkey theory, like the moment you have a certain amount of people doing this, then the whole collective lightens up about it, and then it becomes easier for everybody. And we would almost say, like, if 100 monkeys is enough to integrate something, as a collective you're now somewhere at 1,000 monkeys, and the snowball has really started rolling, and that can be a good thing, but do notice that keep to yourself, keep on focusing. There can be a bit of a danger of this, in the sense that some people now suddenly feel relaxed. Oh, I feel so happy. And then they stop. Don't do that, we would advise. Like, more use the background energy and see if you can, like, stay at the forefront so you can pull the whole collective up with you.
With me, it would be actually the opposite, not stopping it. Exactly the opposite. I want so much more and so much more. Like, so it would be actually the reverse when it comes to my case. I'm not going to stop because the results are amazing. A couple of things as well. So going back to my time with Ramtha, can you please tell me how it was when I was a warrior with him? I know that I was a woman, and I know that I was very, very strong. I didn't connect through my dreams with his energy, and the others.
You did some horrible things as well in that time.
Sorry?
You did some horrible things.
I know,
as well.
we were mass murderers, of course. Yes. But that's not what I'm trying to...
Well, why we point this out to you is that sometimes it can be good to kind of look at the shadow a bit. And in that sense, we feel that's kind of relevant for you now. See if you can maybe integrate those shadows, maybe forgive yourself for having been a perpetrator as well. If you feel that there is issues, if you feel it's difficult to look at that, you know, oops, yeah, we mass murdered a bunch of people.
Oh yes.
Sorry. It might be good to actually acknowledge that and kind of work through that. That can be very healing in a sense, both for you but also for the collective. And it can also help you forgive now perpetrators in the world that maybe you were very like, oh, they shouldn't have done that. But then when you look in yourself and you said, you know what, I've been there, I've done that, why did I do that? Oh, that's the reason why. That's probably the reason why these people are doing it as well. And if you can then stop the judgment of these people and instead of that purify your own frequency and maybe even try to help, send love to these people and try to send understanding to these people so they can, in that sense, shift their own consciousness. That can be much more helpful than, in a sense, creating this blockage or this force against force.
Can you tell me a little bit more when he took his body with him because he became enlightened? Ramtha, can you please tell me a little bit more about the mountain in Nepal when he did that? Because I was there. and many others, and I saw it with my own eyes.
And what do you mean, like the moment he, in a sense, ascended?
Yep.
What would you like to know about that?
How did it
What
happen?
generally happens is when the physical body is done for,
He decided to take his body with him, yeah.
yes, but that is not the literal sense. It's more like once you become enlightened, you understand that you're everything.
Yeah.
So what happens is you stop your identification with this body, and the moment you understand that you're unity consciousness, then you can never be without your body, in a sense. If that is understandable.
Yeah.
And in that sense, by doing that, what kind of happens, if this happens, it's the same, for example, with your Jesus or with your Buddha. The moment these people are incarnated, you have this very strong energy here, but then the moment they die, or they drop the physical body, what happens is that this frequency that was first focused kind of becomes a layer around the globe, and a kind of a frequency that is impossible for anybody to tap into. And in that sense, you are so strongly connected because this frequency was so close to you, and then that frequency has been here since that moment, and you can tap into that and in a sense use that as a kind of a guiding post, like, okay, he could do it, I've seen it, and now I can still feel his frequency around me, it's still available for me, and now I can use, in a sense, walk that path, so I can, in a sense, attain the same enlightenment, embody the same frequency that he understood to embody.
So you cannot describe more in details the moment when it happened?
What would you like to know about it? Or
the ascension scene?
Not necessarily, no. We also don't feel it's very relevant. But why? What do you think it would give you?
Maybe a confirmation, maybe...
Have you ever been with a person that died?
Yeah, I've been with my grandmother, for instance.
Yes. Were you kind of tuned in at that moment?
No, I don't know if I tuned in, I was a kid.
Yes, because that would be interesting. You could... It sounds maybe a bit dark, but that can be a very interesting experience to actually feel that. To be there when this, in this sense, this consciousness, instead of being in focus, suddenly has the freedom to be everywhere. And maybe if you witness that one time, you can actually, how do you say that? It becomes a lot more real for you.
How can I connect more with Ram? He said that we can call him through his dream, through our dreams.
Yes.
And he's there, always. But not expect anything, because if we expect it, we block him. How can I have more contact with him? And only few people saw him, because he doesn't want to show himself with his body, because of this limited conception of humanity to start, like, you know...
How you frame it now, in a sense, is...
Okay.
You really start to build little walls around him.
Wow.
You say, this space and time in this incarnation.
Yep.
And that is okay, but the moment you do that, you put him in a sense, you put him in an isolation chamber, and by doing that you actually make his frequency further away from you. If you don't do that, in that sense his frequency is your frequency on some level. And I don't know if that feels real to you or not, but what you could do is simply see if you can tune into Ramtha and see if you can feel the best feeling thought about Ramtha.
Oh, I do have beautiful things because I know he's back for us and he loves us. He told us so many times, and he...
And if you do this, like focus on these words that make you feel good, and in the back of your mind, put like, I don't know if you can make, do you have a personal symbol that you associate to Ramtha? I
don't know, there is the R from Ramtha.
Yeah, you can make a personal one as well, but if you have the R from Ramtha, we would almost say focus on that, and then at the same time focus on the best frequency you can get. and kind of bathe in that. Do that a couple of times, and what will happen is that you will zoom into his frequency more and more and more and more, and you will embody that frequency more and more and more, so you will become more one with him.
I guess what I realize now is that I want to see, like Jay-Z and I saw him, and he basically appeared with his body that he had, and it's the ego actually inside me that it's triggered and wants to have the same feeling.
Like you want to see him so you know you're worthy. Maybe.
Or that he exists, or that he was, and maybe something triggers inside me when I see him. Maybe something inside me will wake up and remember. That's very interesting. Remember how it was, what it was.
In the sense that we would almost say that we would ask you, try this a bit. Try to focus on the Ramtha symbol you have.
Yeah.
Focus on it. Really try to embody it and feel as good as you can about it. And do that a couple of times and see what happens. And this can also work for deceased people. For example, if you want to contact your grandmother who was deceased, see if you can find a memory of her that makes you really happy about her and bathe in that. And then see if you can find another one. And if you do that, you can really zoom into that frequency. And it might be that suddenly you notice that her consciousness is here, your frequency is here, and you can start to communicate with her.
I'm trying to communicate with her through the black matter and the mirror that I'm taking. It's so powerful, the meditation. But I actually, instead of seeing my grandmother, because you can communicate with the black matter through a trance and in meditation state of mind, I saw my father a couple of times. He's still here. Can you tell me why I was looking in the mirror and I saw in the black matter my father?
In a sense, there's things you need to work out with him, maybe first. See, now you have the tool of the work. See if you can do some of the work on him.
Thank you.
Get these blockages out of the way, and then, because is this then the mother of your father, this grandmother we were talking about?
The mother of my mother.
Mother of your mother?
Stepmother of my mother.
Because then we kind of, it depends a bit, but it could be that that there's an other emotional issue that you need to integrate before you can before you are able to connect with those frequencies. In a sense, if you raise your frequency and something comes up, that in a sense is a sign that is something you need to integrate in this moment. The moment you do that, start again. See if you can raise your frequency. Oh, there comes up something there. And in that way you kind of clean your channel automatically. You automatically start to integrate all these things that needs to be integrated. And after a while you will be on a frequency where you can connect to your grandmother, or you can connect to Ramtha immediately, because your frequencies are equal. And once you reach that level, what you could do, and you can do this now as well, is simply ask Ramtha, I would like to connect with you. Could you help me clear my channel and my path to you? And then your guides can start working on the other side. But what always needs to be done by you is to clear those blockages. Your guides can help you, but you need to do the walking, in a sense.
And I'm doing, so I'm very, very happy. I can see the result. I have a couple of questions from what I call the last reincarnations. Can you tell me what I call my last incarnation, even though I don't know if it's the right term, what it was or how it was? I have a feeling that it was a man that tried to spoke through me one evening, one night.
There is one of that. Just to explain this concept in general, from our perspective, like, you are a frequency in this here and now, and because of this frequency in the here and now, the moment you kind of transcend your own personality, you get access to your other incarnations. However, since from our perspective there is not really space and time, so you connect to other lives that have maybe dealt with an issue or didn't solve an issue that touches where you are in your frequency and what you need to integrate now. So in general, what we recommend, like the specifics of that life, are not that important. It can be interesting as a kind of, okay, this is a reality, but we feel that you, in a sense, already understand that this is a reality. But what you can do to do that is, for example, this man that spoke through you, focus, sit still, breathe a couple of times, and see if you can connect to him and ask him, what can I learn from you? What do you have to teach me? And then see what comes through. It can be that there's negative emotions coming, but try to embody them in a sense. Try to feel through them. What happened to you? What was your issue? How can I learn? What kind of theme are we playing here with? And then in a sense you can use that incarnation to play, and you can integrate the issue in this lifetime faster. But this is very... the moment you've done that, you'll probably connect to another incarnation and to another one. And it could be that, for example, you connect to 7, 8 different lives on these specific issues, and then suddenly it could be that there's a Pleiadian incarnation, or a Syrian incarnation, or an incarnation where you actually experience yourself as Ramtha. So you can play a bit with this. Is this clear, or would you like to know more about this?
I think it's okay. Do you have a question? Because I can just continue.
Yeah, can you tell me a bit about my guide? Spirit guide?
Which one?
Yeah, exactly.
You have a whole family around you.
Flores.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like opening up that channel more. Yeah, like you said about Ramtha, being able to communicate more freely. And yeah, you kind of answered that.
We can go in a bit more detail. What we feel here is that there is a Sirius connection, or in a sense even a Lyran connection, but they come through Sirius. This is kind of the lion being energy, and this is the energy that teaches you. It's the archetype of simply embodying space. It is almost the archetype of the sun. By simply being yourself and shining from within, totally embodying who you are, you can feed worlds around you, just like the sun is feeding our planet. And your guide, in a sense, is helping you with this, to, in that sense, try to trust more on yourself, try to second guess yourself less. And a lot of people... because you are trained this way, right? You go to a school system where you are taught, I don't care who you are, you need to do this, and if you have good grades, then you're a good boy. So this is actually the opposite of that. Instead of embodying yourself, you need to follow the line. And in that sense, you need to untrain that mindset. And we feel that your current guide is really helping you with that. Does that ring a bell? Does that feel correct to you?
Yeah, that leads me to Leon Hart, which is, well, this, I don't know what to call it, like an entity or a personality or an energy that I could like feel in myself.
Yes.
I called myself that in Mexico for a little while, just to like...
Have you been to the pyramids?
No.
Do you feel excited about that?
Yes.
That's definitely one point, the Lyran energy, and that the worship of the sun, that embodiment of the sun, that is very strong in Egypt on your planet. So if it's exciting to you, you could travel there. That's a great way to connect with that more, to integrate with that more. It's not a must, but it can be a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
Maybe study it a bit, study the Egyptian culture a bit, study the sun god a bit, their concepts they had about this.
Ra?
For example, yes. But also the Sphinx, that's a very good... Like the Sphinx originally was a lion. It was, how do you say it? It's not the lion as you have in your... It's like the lion being, like it's a highly intelligent, in that sense, also a bit like you as a human, but instead of evolving from a monkey, it evolved from a feline line. And in that sense, if you connect to those energies there, that can really help. Are you familiar with the raw material?
Not specifically, no. But my friend Tuji is, well, he's very much in contact with Ra. So
yes, so hang out with him, maybe do some meditations with him. What you can also do is, we can try this now if you like, if you take a couple of deep breaths. And imagine that you're a falcon flying through the beautiful blue air. See the sun shining and you're flying over a desert. And just feel the warmth from both sides, from the sun, from above, and from the warm sand from below. And feel the wind, how you're playing with the wind as a bird, how you're sailing on the different streams, and let that energy go through you. And then in the distance see that there's this beautiful golden pyramid. And see if you can fly there. And if you arrive there, maybe sit on the top a bit as a bird. Imagine the sun straight above you. And since you're on the top of this pyramid, you can see if you can, what happens if you feel the energy from the pyramid going upward to the sun, and the energy from the sun going downward through you and then through the rest of the pyramid. Kind of embody that energy of both the pyramid and the sun, and you're the focal point of it. And if that feels good, you can go to the entrance of the pyramid and see if you can transform in a human form, even in a lion being form if you like. So instead of a bird, you suddenly have feet to walk. And you can go inside this beautiful golden pyramid and see if you can sit in the middle and take a meditative pose there. And just start meditating and feel the pyramid around you, feel the sun above you. And see what happens if you can embody the energies that are flowing through. And in a sense, almost, we would say, you can practice this at home as well if it feels exciting to you, and be playful about it. This could be an introduction, how you get to the pyramid, and then when you're there, try to become playful about it. Maybe meditate a bit in the pyramid, but if you feel excited to move around, climb the pyramid, do something else, write on the walls, try to read the walls, maybe connect to other beings that you can or cannot find around you, around the pyramid, connect with them, exchange with them. And that might be a way to integrate this energy more. Do you think this is something that is exciting to play with?
Yes, I'm following. Actually, before you intone the words already. But
yes.
It's only the energy, right?
Yes.
Excellent, thank you.
Yes, you're right.
Also,
yes.
Is there a particular channel that I am more connected to, or? Yeah.
Your own guides, you mean?
No, like for channeling, like where this body is channeling Arcturians.
Yes.
And is there?
You could see if you can hang out with people that you feel have really embodied this sun energy and this lion being energy, if you feel that energy a lot with Toji. See if you can hang out with him a bit. See if you can do some meditations with him.
Yeah.
You can look a bit. Are you familiar with Roxanne Swainhart?
Yeah.
She is also a channel that, especially in the beginning, had very strong of these energies. So that might be worth checking out.
So this morning, when I was making cacao, I was, well, very much in myself and like present, awake, but also like dancing, singing, tuning into a lot of different voices. But as I feel with Bashar and the channel that you're sitting in right now, are
Yes.
you present? Like I was present, conscious of it, but was I channeling? I don't know the difference.
Yes, the moment you feel this energy, and in a sense there is a difference, but it's more the state of alignment and the state of flow is in a sense the channeling state. And what happens is that because you have a kind of, it doesn't fall away, but because in a sense you have a, how do we say it? The moment you are in this flow state, in a sense your mental, emotional body that normally is a border, that kind of falls away. And because of that, you're in this flow and you can just... but that is always a channeling state, yes, if that is your question. So you're definitely channeling. The moment you feel you're in the flow, the moment you feel you're dancing, or just very connected, that's definitely... and you're always channeling. In a sense, you're channeling your physical body as well. But the more aligned you are, the better you feel that flow, the more you have opened that channel, and the easier it is for you to connect with these guides.
Yeah. I can feel I can step out of the way and let like, well, Bashar, for example, since that's the channel that I have in mind right now, I can let that flow through, but not be like waking conscious of doing it.
No, it's an interesting state of being for the channel as well to experience it. Like how, in a sense, what Daryl Anka says, and this is also the channel's experience, is that they feel that they're kind of on the front seat, but next to the driver. Also, another one, how this channel feels it a bit, is like, maybe it's like a small light, but the moment he goes into the channeling state, it's almost as if a sun on the back appears, but he is still in the center, but you just have more light, more energy, more knowledge shining through. But there is a guiding component that we use from the channel, because we need in that sense, the mental capacity to flow this, to download this information, and to be able to translate this frequency into something that is translatable to you as well. So in that sense, the channel is always aware. The channeling state in that way is a good balance of both inflow and outflow. Is there more you would like to know about this, or is this clear enough?
So in the way that the channel is working right now is, it's like, as we started out talking about structure, is that the best way for me to start channeling in the way that you are channeling right now, or being channeled?
Yes. And if you're excited about this, we would definitely advise you to just like go on, just gather information and see what resonates. Read the book, read the exercises, try them out a bit, because in that sense, also you get to decide as well what you want. Like, don't feel that this is an energy that will overpower you and that you have no say in this, or that you should in the sense submit to what it wants, because you in that sense have full control at all time. This channel can like stop whenever he feels uncomfortable with something, and you always have that control. So it really is an equal cooperation, and you have to in a sense invite it in. There must be this desire to do this, and we feel that that desire is there with you. We feel that you have the potential capability to do this, and you're already doing this as now, already in a sense. But yes, if you can build a bit of a structure around this, so in a sense a permission slip for yourself, then that can really help.
And one last little question.
Yes.
That I'm struggling a bit with, like snus tobacco, that keeps coming back. I'm having a hard time letting it go.
Do you notice when this desire comes up?
Snooze. Probably when I feel like I have to do something or be something.
Yes.
Like a nervousness of some sort.
What you could do is see if you can find, in that sense, kind of the beliefs that cause this stress in your system. Because that often is what, for example, snooze does as well. There's a certain definition in your own system that's a bit off, and because you filter your own awareness through the definition that isn't really in alignment with who you are at this moment. It might have been 5 years ago, but it isn't any longer. Try to see if you can find that definition, because what often happens is there's a definition that's a bit off. Because it's a bit off, it doesn't feel good. And what often happens is people have a thought, this consciousness is being filtered through the definition that isn't optimal and up to date for them in this now, but that, because of that, it creates a negative feeling. It can create a sadness, it can create a feeling of unworthiness, it can create some kind of lack belief. And because the body doesn't enjoy feeling that, then often we try to, numb that feeling. And that can be alcohol, it can be sex, it can be food. There can be many addictions people go to. But so don't judge yourself for doing it. It's simply, in that sense, see it as a form of self-medication. But it could be good to, and you can meditate on this as well. Instead of trying to get rid of the feeling, try to be with the feeling and kind of go into this. Are you familiar with Teal Swan, her work on integration of, for example, inner child work?
Not her work, but I've been working with a lot of modalities and things just popping into mind, and like I can feel more. The way I've been working with things is more with vibrations, without pictures, without stories, and just feeling it flow to different parts of my body and dissolving whatever I felt pressured into or locked myself into.
Well, whatever modality works for you, like whatever permission slip you feel excited and feels good, and maybe what you have experience with, but we would say the moment you feel the moment coming up when you want to take a snooze, instead of doing that, take a couple of deep breaths and kind of invite the feeling, like, oh, there's a bit of a weird feeling here. And the first thing to do, in a sense, is feel totally fine embodying it. Just allow it to be and say, okay, you know what, I've been ignoring you so long, now you get to express yourself fully. And that can feel a bit icky, but just by allowing that, you give it the space, and that in a sense already clears part of it. And by doing that, try to go into it, try to start a conversation. Why are you here? What would you like to tell me? How can I comfort you? How can we work together? And see what comes out of that. Then the moment you have access to this, if you get a thought, if you get a certain emotion, maybe there's an aspect of you that just wants a hug of your current now, embrace it and love it in that sense. Instead of trying to suppress it and putting it away, try to invite it and love it as fully as you can and see if that can transform it. Would you like to know more about this, or is this something you feel you can work with?
Is there something you can add since you're asking? I feel like I can work well with this. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Nurturing myself, holding myself, loving myself.
Yes, but it can be very specific sometimes. Like it can be really like when you were 5-year-old and maybe your mother scolded you, and it wasn't even because she didn't love you, but I don't know, she had her food on the dinner, or she was preparing food, she was busy, and she was just a bit stressed, and she just said, "Oh, I don't have time for you right now," and you as a child might have totally interpreted that the wrong way, like, "Oh, my mom doesn't love me," or a child can make it much bigger than it actually is, but especially when we're in a young age, it's good to reconnect with those parts in the now and see if we can explain it to the child, like, oh, just because she did that doesn't mean she doesn't love you, doesn't mean you aren't worthy, it's simply that she was just busy, and instead of your mother needing to take care of you, just be there for the kid and try to pat it on the back and invite it to go do something fun and exciting. And often you can kind of integrate those energies then.
Yeah, like I've been holding myself a lot. I'm like, oh, it's okay, you were naive, and yeah, like you said, you took it in a way that it wasn't really meant in that way at all.
Exactly.
Just from the förutsättning.
Yeah.
The
Condition.
conditions, you took it like that.
And in that sense, we have all confidence in you that you are very able to handle this and do this, so don't worry about it in that sense. You have all the skills, you have all the tools. Simply allow yourself and be kind to yourself and playful about it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we are okay for today.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much as well for being willing to co-create with us in this now. You have our unconditional love, and we're looking forward to connect with you in the next now. Goodbye and namaste.
Namaste.